everyone, and welcome to Royal Canin's Cat Chat. We are here today to put our feline friends front and centre and chat all things cat. As we all know, cats are incredibly unique creatures and they require a specialised approach to all aspects of their health, behaviour and nutrition. Royal Canin Cat Chat is an event to celebrate what makes cats truly unique and discuss common health concerns that pet owners just like you have shared with us through our Royal Canin Instagram page. My name is Dr. Mina Hamilton. I've been a veterinarian for 10 years. 6 of those years I've spent in the veterinary team at Royal Canin, focusing on all aspects of nutrition. I'm a proud cat parent to 2 Burmese cats at home, Andre and Louie, who remind me every day that they are very different to our little dog Phil at home. With me today on the cat expert panel, we have Dr. Jackie Lee and Dr. Kate Bruce. Dr. Jackie Lee is coming to us from Melbourne and consults out of Melbourne Veterinary Specialist Centre in Glen Waverley. Hello, Jackie.
G'day, Mina.
It's great to have you on the panel today, Jackie. Dr. Jackie is a veterinarian who specialises in behavioural medicine and can be likened to a veterinary psychiatrist. She has spent over 15 years only seeing pets with cognitive and anxiety disorders. Dr. Jackie is highly knowledgeable in all aspects of cat behaviour, well renowned in her field, helping other vets improve their knowledge on behavioural medicine, and always a pleasure to chat with. So very happy to have you with us today, Jackie. Also on the panel with us today is Dr. Kate Bruce. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Mina. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here, Kate. Kate is a hospital veterinarian at Brisbane Veterinary Specialist Centre. Dr. Kate gained a lot of experience as a veterinarian, working for 5 years in a busy emergency hospital, where she became very well versed in all aspects of pet health, from routine vaccinations right through to the most life-threatening of scenarios. Dr. Kate is very passionate about helping pet owners better understand their pets and has a dedicated Instagram page, Kate the Vet, to help educate pet owners on common pet health problems. We're very excited to have you with us today, Dr. Kate. So, we have lots of prizes to give away through today's session, and everyone will have the opportunity to enter our major prize competition to go into the draw to win a year's worth of Royal Canin food for their cat at home. 2 lucky winners will be taking home this awesome prize. So if you're interested in entering, you'll need to spot the code word showed on the screen throughout today's session, then enter the competition by visiting our Royal Canin Facebook page and clicking the link in the competition post. So best of luck to everyone tuning in who's going to enter. Now, let's talk cats and head into our first segment. There are more than 5 million pet cats in Australia and New Zealand, but did you know that only 50% of cats go to the vet as often as they should? I'd like to put it to the audience now, for those of you tuning in. Do you know how regularly cats need to go to the vet? Pop your answers in the comment box, and the first 4 to guess the correct answer will win a cat scratching post. Now let's head into our first segment about taking cats to the vet. So we just heard that 50% of cat owners do not take their cat to the vet as often as they should. It'd be great to explore this further, and I'd love to pass to Dr. Jackie, our cat behaviour expert. Jackie, do you agree with this statement, and why do you think it is so challenging taking cats to the vet?
Absolutely, Mina, and we can't really blame cat owners. The simple fact is that cats like to stay home, and our cat owners know that their cats are uncomfortable and frightened when they go to the veterinary clinic. So we have to remember that cats, being a very territorial species, feel really happy at home in a familiar place. When we pop them in the carrier, pop them in the car, take them down to the veterinary clinic, we're taking them away from where they feel comfortable and the place that they know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Jackie, and I think a lot of cat owners tuning in could certainly relate to that type of experience. I mean, it's one challenge getting the cat into the carrier and to the vet, but I'd love to hear what your experience is, Kate. You know, once the cat arrives at the veterinary clinic, what are the challenges around examining stressed cats?
Yeah, it can definitely be really challenging. I mean, a cat's just arrived at a brand new location. It's really scary. There's dogs barking, phones ringing. It's a totally new experience for them, and we're already on the back foot even by the time they actually get in through the clinic door. A lot of these cats don't even want to come out of their carriers, and some may have actually even soiled themselves within the carrier itself. We do also have a lot of challenges actually getting a good physical exam on these patients as well. For one, it makes it really difficult for the owner to actually restrain the cat properly because they are so stressed as well.
Yeah.
And it also does mean that their flight or fight response kicks in, and cats, being instinct characters, do actually try to protect themselves by hiding a lot of the symptoms that they would normally show. We do often hear owners saying that they think their cats are actually faking it when they've showed these symptoms at home, where they were scratching or licking or coughing, and then all of a sudden these symptoms disappear as soon as they get through the consult door. But they're actually just really, really good at hiding those symptoms, but that makes it difficult for us as veterinarians to actually figure out what's going on with them.
Yeah, it sounds like it's quite challenging from the moment that the cat has to get in the carrier at home right through to when they arrive at the clinic. It's all very stressful for the cat that's involved. We do have some tips though, so let's not paint too grim a picture. There are some tips that can help to reduce stress on our cats, to get them to the vet and get them those health checks that they so desperately need. We're going to pop some tips up on the screen now to share with our cat owner audience that are tuning in, our top 10 travel tips. Now, Jackie, I'd love to throw to you to hear what your favourite travel tip is for cat owners tuning in.
Mina, I really like the idea of leaving the carrier out as a piece of furniture so that the cat's really comfortable with it. We want the cat to be thinking of the carrier as a bed that sometimes moves rather than a scary thing that comes out that means we're going to the veterinary clinic. The other thing that I really like is when people are carrying the carrier, to think about how they carry it, because if they carry it by the handle at the top, what happens is the cat's tilted. So we want people to think about holding it with two hands and keeping it secure and level in front of their body.
That's very sensible, Jackie. Get the carrier out well before you're planning to get to the vet, to get the cat nice and comfortable with the carrier. What about you, Kate? What's your favourite travel tip?
I think for me, tip number one is the most important, and that is making sure that your cat is actually properly restrained in the car. Every vet has horror stories about cats that have gone missing when they got out of the car on the way to the clinic. It may also be that you trust your cat and they are the best trained cat in the world, but it doesn't mean that you can trust every other animal that's also in the vet clinic. So there may be a dog in there that absolutely loves chasing cats, and your cat might be a prime target for them as soon as you walk through the door. So number one, safety first, is definitely my most important tip.
I like that, Kate. I think safety first is a very important message for cat owners tuning in. Now, my personal favourite tip is actually the choice of carrier. So I'm just going to show you what a good cat carrier can look like. Cat carriers can come in hard plastics like this, so they can be a hard travel crate, or you can get them in softer versions. Ultimately, that comes down to personal preference, but some aspects of the cat carrier that can be helpful is being able to open the cat carrier from the top is extremely helpful, because then it means that the veterinarian can access your cat without having to stress them and remove them from the carrier. Other helpful aspects of a good cat carrier is to have these side clips where the whole top can come off, again for easy access to your cat and to help reduce stress during a veterinary examination. So thank you to Jackie and Kate for helping us with our travel tips to get your cats to the vet for their health checkups. I'd love to throw into our next segment, which is going to be focused on myth busting. Now we're going to debunk some common myths around cat health, and we'd love all of you tuning in at home to join in by popping your comments in the comments box on whether you think these statements are a myth or a fact. There will be prizes to give away here too, so please join in. Statement number one, hairballs in cats are normal, myth or fact? So let's have a look and see what our audience is popping in the comments box here. Oh, interesting, Kate. A lot of people are saying that it is in fact a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for popping your comments into the comments box. This statement is, in fact, a myth. So whilst cats do spend a large portion of their day grooming, it's about 30% of their waking time, in fact, and they do incidentally end up eating quite a lot of their hair, that hair should pass naturally out through their stools, and it should not be coming up as a hairball. Whilst hairballs can be common in some long-haired cats, they are not necessarily considered to be normal. So Kate, I'd love to throw to you to get some insights from you. How have you managed hairballs in cats, and why do you think they happen?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Mina. It is a really common myth. So there are certain cats that are a little bit more predisposed to developing hairballs than others. So like you said, those that have a long sort of coat length, those that do shed more frequently, and those that do have underlying health conditions which might increase the amount of hair that they're actually losing as well. So things like allergies or even hormonal conditions as well can increase that risk. You can definitely help out at home by brushing your cat more frequently and using the de-shedding brushes that do help to get rid of the underlayers as well to reduce the amount of fur that's actually coming off your cat. There are certain health conditions as well which may mean that your cat is less likely to digest and have that hair moving through their system as it should do. So there are conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, structural issues with their colon, or even musculoskeletal disease, including things like arthritis, which may mean that your cat actually has trouble passing out the hairball as well. It is really important that you do get your cat checked at the vet if you do think they're having hairballs more frequently than they really should be.
Yeah, some great points in there, Kate, and I think it's super important to have cats checked, especially if they're regularly vomiting up those hairballs, so a vet check is certainly warranted in those instances. If you do, however, have a healthy long-haired cat, so there's no underlying health issues, there are some fantastic diets that can help to support the passage of that hair naturally out through the stools, and those diets typically contain specific fibres such as psyllium that can help to trap the hair and ensure that it passes out in your cat's feces and not out in a fur sausage on the carpet or a hairball.
As we all love those ones.
We all love those, that's exactly right. Fantastic. Okay, well, let's get into statement number 2. Stress is a common cause for up to 2/3 of urinary issues in cats. Do we think that that is a myth or a fact? So once again, passing to our audience to pop in the comments box on what they think. So let's have a look, Kate, at what's coming through. Fantastic. A few people commenting that they're not really sure whether it's a myth or a fact. Okay, thank you so much everybody who's gone to the effort of popping a comment in the comments box. This is in fact true, so it is a fact. Urinary issues are far more common in cats than they are in dogs, and stress is a very important factor when it comes to managing lower urinary tract disease. So Jackie, I'd love to pass to you as our cat behaviour expert. Do you have any comments on urinary issues and why stress might be an important factor?
Yes, Mina. For some of my patients, the only reason that I actually see them is because they are having trouble with their urinary system. So cats can actually develop a sterile cystitis, so cystitis that's not caused by any bugs or any problems actually in their bladder, it simply is caused by stress. So managing them is not only about helping with the immediate inflammation that they're feeling, but it's also about trying to reduce the stresses in their world. And there's a whole lot of things that owners can do, but what we've found really helpful for a lot of cats is to increase the amount of resources that they actually have access to, so more litter trays, more resting spots, more places where they can get water, and also to give them some time apart. So a place to go and rest in private can be really, really helpful for reducing their stress.
So thank you so much, Jackie. There are some great tips in there for our cat owners tuning in. I am going to raise this with you though, litter trays. Do you have any tips that you can share with our cat owner audience around the magic number of litter trays, or any tips generally relating to litter trays?
Yes, Mina, I do. Litter tray problems are a major reason why cats come to see me in the behaviour clinic. So we've always tried to figure out how many litter trays people need to have for their cats, and there doesn't seem to be a magic formula. But what people need to be thinking about is supplying enough trays so that each of their cats can go to the toilet, and that they can go to the toilet when they want, because you need to remember that cats don't actually queue up and wait like humans do for the toilet. It's also really important that the litter trays are clean. It's not a nice job, nobody likes doing it, but nobody likes using a toilet that hasn't been flushed. And it's the same thing with our cats. So cleaning the litter trays is a really great way of making sure that cats will actually use the tray, and it can cut down the number of physical trays that people need to have in their homes. So the big thing is make sure the trays are clean and that you have enough for all the cats.
That's great, Jackie. Thank you. You had me at using a toilet that hasn't been flushed, so I think everybody can relate to that. So thank you for clearing that up. I know that litter tray questions is certainly something that I used to get a lot of when in veterinary practice. Pet owners are always interested in litter trays. Okay, let's go into myth number 3. Kittens need specialised nutrition, but adult cats can eat anything once they're fully grown. Is that a myth or a fact? So once again, throwing to our audience tuning in to post in the comments box on whether they think this is a myth or a fact. So let's take a look and see what's coming through. Ew, this one's setting the chat off. Fantastic. Well, so pleased to see for our audience that many of you have said that this is in fact a myth, which is true. So yes, kittens do need specialised nutrition to support all of that healthy growth and development. However, tailored nutrition is still really important in adult cats. So I'd love to hear from you, Dr. Kate, on your experience with adult cat nutrition. What are some tips that you can share with cat owners tuning in?
Yeah, so it's vitally important for adult cats to get a complete and balanced diet, just as much as it is for kittens. With cats, having a good balanced diet is one of the most important things that we as pet owners actually have in our arsenal to increase their life expectancy and give them the best quality of life long term. Every cat needs a different type of nutrition depending on their life stage, their exercise levels, and whether they're indoors or outdoors. They may also have different health conditions that require specific nutritional tailoring as well. So this may include things like diabetes, obesity, kidney disease, dental disease. There's a variation in all the types of diets that we can offer them to make sure that we slow down the process of a lot of these diseases or try and prevent them altogether as much as we can.
Yeah, I love that, Kate. And I love what you're saying there about trying to achieve health through nutrition. There are certainly specific diets that are available that can help to support certain health conditions. But in addition to that, you know, we are what we eat and our cats are no different. So I love what you're saying there. Jackie, I'd love to hear from you. Do you have any comments around how tailored nutrition can help adult cats?
I think tailored nutrition is a really fantastic thing for cats, but one of the points that we really have to be aware of is that cats are what we call an obligate carnivore. So they've evolved to eat meat, they've evolved to catch and eat all sorts of animals and eat all parts of those animals. And we do hear of people who want to feed their cats vegetarian foods or even vegan foods. And I think that that makes life really, really hard for the cats. They are at their best and they are easiest for us to keep healthy when we feed them species appropriate foods. So I'd certainly be saying that a food that's got animal-based proteins in it is going to work best for your average cat.
Yeah, a very important message, Jackie. Thank you so much for raising it. Species appropriate is a very important message for cat owners tuning in, as well as the wonderful messages that Kate has already shared around complete and balanced and tailored nutrition. So that wraps up our third myth. Now into our final and fourth myth for the day. 1 kilogram of extra weight for your cat is the equivalent of 16 kilograms for a human. Myth or fact? So once again, please pop your comments in the comments box as to whether you think this is a myth or a fact. And we will watch the comments box and see what you guys have to say.
This is such a great one.
It's a great question, isn't it? I think overweight cats is certainly something that we're seeing a lot more of in veterinary practices. So it's a good topic to raise with our cat owner audience today. What do you think, Kate? Do you think this is a myth or a fact?
I think this one might be a fact, but I'll be interested to see what the rest of the audience says.
Well, it's looking as though the audience agrees with you, and they are correct. So this, in fact, is a fact. So we have to remember that cats are incredibly small creatures by comparison to humans, and that even 1 kilogram of extra weight on your cat can have a significant impact. So Jackie, I'd love to hear from you. Are there any behavioural reasons around why cats might gain weight, and do you have some tips that you can share with our audience tuning in today?
Yeah, fat cats, they're a real problem in the veterinary world and for cat owners. And one of the things that we're seeing is that as we confine our cats more and more, they're not having the opportunities to play and to move around as much as they used to. When I was a kid, you know, we used to open the door and the cat would go out and it'd pop back during the day and then it would come back at night time for something to eat and maybe to sleep overnight in the house. Now cats are inside all the time. So it's really important that we consider what we feed them, but also how we can get them moving to help them maintain a healthy weight. So when it comes to toys for cats, there's lots and lots on the market market. But little things to be looking for are cats hunt small animals. So they really like small toys, things that they can bat and move around. A lot of cats really like feathers, and so they can be quite attractive for cats to play with. Ping pong balls are a fabulous toy for cats to have, and you can drop a ping pong ball in an empty bathtub and they'll often bat it around and play with it. The other sort of toy that's fantastic for cats, what I used to call fishing rod toys, but now they're being called flirt poles. So you might have had toys like this for your cat, and we just dance them around and the cats will play with them. And really importantly, cats are ambush hunters, so they like to play in short bursts, like they like to hunt. So a play session only needs to be 2 to 5 minutes long to actually be really great for a cat. So if you're not into walking miles and miles and miles, that's a really good thing, because your cat doesn't want to. They just want to play for a little bit, play really hard and fast, and then they want to go and sleep again.
Yeah, I think that's a really important message too, Jackie, around, cats like to play in short bursts. I know that my cats at home are the same. They're fairly sedentary and do very little for most of the day, but if I pick up a mouse toy and throw it across the floor, they certainly do chase after it. So some great tips there on how to get sedentary cats moving and getting them more active. Kate, I'd love to hear from you around, how can we get cats more active around feeding times? Do you have any tips around, ways to get activity around feeding time?
Yeah, well, we actually had to do this recently when we looked after my mum and dad's cats. One in particular is quite on the hefty side. So we tried to get him losing weight by actually setting up a little feeding obstacle course around the house. So being with us was pretty much like being at fat camp for him. We used to set up all of these little boxes and throw the treats into the box so that he had to jump in and chase them and run between the boxes to actually get his normal food. And we did manage to get a couple of kilos off him for the few months that he was staying with us, so that seemed to be successful.
Yeah, that's a great effort. Getting weight off cats can be a challenge. It's certainly not as easy as dogs. We can't exercise them the way we can with dogs. So yeah, a fantastic effort to get that weight off of your cat. What about you, Jackie? Have you got any suggestions around your favourite interactive feeders that you can share with the audience tuning in?
Oh, there's so many different sorts of feeders around. You can buy quite expensive ones that the cats have got to push and poke and get their paws into. But people can also use things like a good old cardboard box, some scrunched up paper, if you get the newspaper or the packing paper, and just drop the food in amongst them. And the cats really love fossicking in there, and especially if you cut some paw-sized holes in the box, then they can pop their paws in there and fossick in that. So some people may actually have cats that like to actually just pick the food up with their paw and eat it. So anything that just slows down the eating, makes it a little harder for them to get every morsel. I know it sounds a little cruel, but it's what they would do if they were having to hunt for themselves.
Everybody loves a DIY cat toy, Jackie, so thank you so much for sharing that with our audience. Something really practical that all cat owners can just do at home immediately to enrich their cat's environment. And I suppose it wouldn't be a conversation on weight management if we didn't mention nutrition as well, but what they're eating is also important. So there are certainly moderate calorie diets available that can help to support an ideal body weight in cats. Royal Canin do a fantastic range called Satiety that helps to promote an ideal body weight, but can also be used for weight loss programs at home too. So I think that will nicely lead us into our next segment, which will be all focused around weight management. So we just learnt that 1 kilogram of extra weight for your cat is the equivalent of 16 kilograms on a human, which is pretty significant. So let's tackle the weight management section of our Cat Chat panel. Now, Kate, I'd love to throw to you and just to hear what your insights are around how challenging is it to actually get weight off of cats?
Can be really challenging, and one of the biggest things is actually telling when your cat has reached that point when they are actually overweight and not their ideal body condition. It can be really difficult for owners to tell the difference between what is just their winter coat and what is actually a little bit of extra chub that's sort of creeped in. It can be quite a slow process as well, so as cats do get older they become more sedentary by nature, but that doesn't mean that they should stop moving around and exercising or that they should become overweight. It does also make it really difficult when most of the cats that we see out and about are actually overweight themselves. So we have a really skewed perception of what's actually normal as well, which can make it difficult for pet owners to recognise when their cat may be creeping up there as well.
That's an excellent point that you've made there, Kate. And we actually have an activity for those of you tuning in at home. So we're just about to pop up 3 images of some cat silhouettes, and we'd love for you to pop in the comments box which one do you think is the ideal weight for your cat at home. Is it number 1, is it number 2, or is it number 3? And Kate, I suspect that we're going to get a mix of answers to this question, which really does highlight what you've just said, that perhaps our perception of what a healthy cat looks like is a little bit skewed these days.
Absolutely, I think we will too. I think I've seen a few families getting around with the number 3 as well, which they do tend to think is quite cute, but I have a feeling that's not going to be our answer.
Yes. So let's have a look and see what's coming through in the chat. Fantastic. Okay, so most people have actually said that number 2 is the healthy body weight for a cat. Kate, do you know which one was the correct answer?
I think it might actually be number 1.
Yes, and you would be right in saying that it is number 1. So it might surprise some of you tuning in that number 1 is what an ideal body weight should look like for a cat. And Kate, I'd love for you to take us through some tips on maybe how pet owners can assess body condition at home, because it's not so much about the kilograms or the physical weight, but more so about what the cat looks like, right?
Absolutely. So as vets, we actually use a body condition scoring scale. So most vets will use a 1 to 9 system, where 1 means that the cat is severely underweight and 9 means that the cat is essentially pretty much a beach ball with fur. We do use a few sort of parameters to actually test this and work out how they sort of sit on that scale and whether they are under or overweight. So a couple of the ways that we test this is, for one, by looking from the top of the cat. You should be able to see that they've got a nice little bit of waist definition behind their ribs and a slight curve to the waist. You can also see this from the side, where you should see that abdominal tuck happening at the back of the ribs, but don't be sort of swayed by the abdominal fat pad that does stick there. So there can be a sort of swinging passage of skin there that does come up normally in most cats, and that's not necessarily a sign that they are actually overweight as well. You can also check to see if you can feel their ribs. So you can use your own knuckle as a little bit of a sort of test run for what you should be feeling, and you should be able to feel those last couple of ribs on the back of your cat's belly there. If you're really having to dig your fingers in and get through those layers of the fat, it generally means that they're a little bit over.
Yeah, there's some great tips there, Kate, and I love what you're saying about having a look and a feel over your cat to really assess whether they're sitting at a healthy body weight. Do you have some tips for owners at home around perhaps like what some common health conditions are for cats that are overweight and what these might look like?
Yeah, so unfortunately being overweight does predispose them to quite a few other health conditions as well. So these can include things like diabetes, urinary disease, as we have discussed earlier as well. They can be predisposed to developing heart disease and high blood pressure also, and they're actually 4 times more likely to develop diabetes than the average cat as well. They do also have that higher risk of developing joint disease as they get older as well, so all of that extra weight creates extra loading on their joints, so they can develop arthritis as they get older.
Yeah. So it's sounding like what you're saying, Kate, is that just like in people, you know, being overweight predisposes you to a whole myriad of health conditions, and it really is the same for our cats at home as well.
It also affects their quality of life as well. So when we were able to actually get a kilo or so off one of my parents' cats that we were looking after, we did find that his quality of life improved massively, and he was running around like a kitten again at 10 years old.
That's a fantastic story. Very heartwarming indeed. Yeah. Now, one of the scary statistics, we've painted a grim picture around all of the health conditions that overweight cats can be predisposed to, and one of the scary statistics around pet obesity is that it is estimated that 1 in 2 cats in Australia are classified as overweight, and we know that pet owners play a very important role in the weight of their cats at home and play a very important role in the feeding of their cats. So Jackie, I'd love to hear from you. Do you have any tips for cat owners at home on how they can ignore some of those begging behaviours? Because we know that cats are so good at asking for food, and sometimes this can be really hard to resist.
Ignoring begging behaviours can be really, really difficult, and it's not really our cat owner's fault. By chance, cats actually make sounds that key into the sounds of young babies. So we respond to their crying like they are a young baby, and of course, what do we do with young babies? We comfort them and we feed them, and that's what we tend to do with our cats. So it's all right to be feeding our cats, but feeding them too much is a problem. So what we can do is actually get them to work for every morsel of food. And that's actually not cruel. Some people say, oh, that's not fair, that's not nice. But when we test animals, give them a choice of working for their food, doing something to actually find the food themselves, they're really happy to do that. And that brings us to the topic of interactive feeders. Now, this is one little feeder that I picked up just at a pet store. It's a hollow ball. You pull it apart, you fill this bit up with some food, pop it back together again, and then your cat has to roll it round to actually get the food out of it. And the nice thing about small things like this is that once your cat knows about them, you can then start hiding that. So the cat's got to actually go and find the toy to roll it around and get the food out. And it actually mimics what cats do when they're hunting and finding food for themselves. The other thing to remember is that when cats are meowing, they may not just want food. They may want a pat, or they might want you to play a game with them. So you can offer them other things other than food. Just remember though, when you hear that sound and you feel like, oh gosh, I've got to go and feed that poor little crying baby, remember it's your cat, and maybe think twice about getting out the food.
There's some great tips in there, Jackie, and a really interesting insight to hear that sound that cats make is on the same frequency as a newborn baby. I think that relieves us all of some guilt around giving in to some of those begging behaviours at home. And I also, my cats at home have a very impressive interactive feeder that's shaped like a tree that they have to shake to get the kibble out of. And I did find myself trapped in a bit of a cycle where I was the one shaking the tree every time they meowed at them. So tip for all our cat owners tuning in at home, that's also not a great way to do it. It defeats the purpose of the interactive feeder, but certainly getting rid of those bowls, getting some interactive feeders to enrich your cat's environment is a very important part of keeping them active, but also slowing down the consumption of food and hopefully helping to reduce some of those begging behaviours. Now, it wouldn't be a weight management segment unless we commented on nutrition as well, so diet can certainly help to reduce some of those begging behaviours at home. The Royal Canin Satiety diet range is just as its name suggests, helps to keep cats feeling satiated or satisfied after they're eating, so hopefully helps to reduce some of those begging behaviours at home. So thank you so much to Dr. Kate and Dr. Jackie for all of their insights and tips around weight management, and thank you for those of you that have tuned in. Now we're going to go into our Q&A section of the Cat Chat panel, and we're really interested to see what questions you've asked of us that we're really looking forward to answer. Thank you so much everybody for tuning in so far. We are just about to get into our final segment, which is all centred around Q&A. Over the last week, we asked our Facebook and Instagram followers to send through some questions all related to cat health and behaviour, and so we're going to take you through some of those questions right now. However, if you're tuning in live and you have questions, please do feel free to pop them into the chat. We have our veterinary team on standby ready to answer your questions as you type them. So let's jump into our Q&A segment with Dr. Kate and Dr. Jackie. Our very first question has actually come through from Susan, who's asked, what's the best food or additive for dental problems in cats? My cats are semi-wild and I'm trying to see if I can help them before a vet check, as they tend to freak out easily. So Kate, I might pass to you. Do you have any comments to help Susan?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I guess one of the key things to pick from this question here is that there's nothing we can do 100% to completely get rid of dental disease in cats. We do have a few things in our arsenal to try and work on those teeth to keep them as clean as possible, but they never will be 100%. The cats aren't sitting there each day brushing their teeth, and just like us, they still need to see the dentist. As I said earlier, cats are pretty good at hiding their symptoms, and dental disease can be pretty serious without actually showing any outward signs that the cat is either in pain or experiencing disease under the actual gum or within the root of the tooth. So it is still really worth getting that vet check done regardless, just to see if there are any issues there that need to be addressed before all of that prevention you can do at home as well. I might cut back to you, Mina, to see if there are any other tips you can offer in terms of dental prevention.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Kate said there is exactly the advice that we would give. We know that it's a challenge to get your cat to the vet, Susan, so that's where our tips really play in and hopefully can help you to reduce some stress around getting the cats there. And once the dental disease is either under control, or once we know that your cat has a clean slate to work with or a clean mouth to work with, then there are certainly tailored diets that can help to support oral health. So Royal Canin have a fantastic dental diet that's specifically designed to help to reduce plaque and tartar on the teeth and to help to prevent some of those more serious dental conditions going forward. So yeah, thank you so much for your question, Susan. We'll now jump into our next question, which has come through from Chelsea. So my 2-year-old male desexed cat used to be smitten with our 8-month-old female kitten when we first got her at 2 months of age. Now that my boy has grown into a bit of independence, he has begun to be mean to her, hissing at her and scaring her, play fighting, but sometimes it gets rough and he hurts her. Why has he suddenly gotten like this? Well, luckily we have Dr. Jackie, our cat behaviour expert, so I'll pass to you, Jackie, if you can share some advice that might help Chelsea at home.
Chelsea's problem's quite a common one. It sounds like her young man cat, her boy cat, has actually grown up and he is trying to get out there and explore the world, and he's got nowhere really that he can go. The other thing that we've got is our young little girl cat. She's growing up and she's not a cute little kitten making cute little batty paws. She's now got bigger claws and she's got longer teeth. So the two of them are going to be playing a bit rougher and harder with each other, and there's going to be times where they hurt each other and they're not impressed by that. So the best thing that Chelsea can be doing, and anybody else who's having this problem, is actually creating spaces for the cats to go to by themselves, because cats actually do spend a lot of time alone. They actually hunt by themselves. They don't do that as a group. So we need to mimic that behaviour pattern of going apart, spending some time apart, exploring, finding food, doing some things, and then coming back together to sort of catch up and rest and maybe have a little play and then have a snooze together. So if Chelsea can create a separate spot where her boy cat can go and play and some separate time for her girl to go and play, both of those areas need food and water and places to rest and litter trays if they're completely enclosed cats. And then you'll find that a lot of that playtime anger will actually go back to being more playtime fun.
Some fabulous advice there, Jackie. Thank you so much. It's just like managing siblings in the one household, isn't it? I think we've all needed some space from our siblings at home. So we've got another question here from Daniel. My Oriental cat has a bad habit of chewing plastic. How can I stop him? Now this can be quite a serious issue. Jackie, I might pass back to you for a behaviour perspective on this one.
This problem makes me a little bit concerned. So when cats eat things that are not actual food items, so they're not things that are organic or things that we would consider to be part of food, we call that pica. And the big thing about pica is that it can be what we consider a compulsive behaviour, and it's very common in some cats, and especially some breeds of cats like Oriental breeds, so all the Asiatic type breeds like the Burmese, etc. Now, the thing is that it's not a cute little problem, because some of these cats will actually eat the non-food item. It could be plastic, it could be fabrics, it could be small toys or rubber items. And the problem is that they ingest it, and a lot of them will end up with clogged up tummies, and they'll need operations to help fix that. So the thing is that what we need to do is actually have your cat seen by a veterinarian to just check that everything's well, that there's no other reason why they might be chewing. And then if the behaviour is happening a lot and the cat is actually seeking out plastic to go and chew on, then that cat needs to be seen by a veterinary psychiatrist so that we can diagnose the problem and get appropriate treatment. In the short term, if this cat is seeking plastic, then all attempts to avoid plastic need to be put in place. So it's making sure that plastic packaging, plastic products, all of that sort of stuff is put in cat-proof areas so that the cat can't access it. Also providing other things for the cat to chew on, maybe like some raw bones or cat chews or denture chews could be helpful. But for some of my patients, they only want the non-food item to chew on. And as I said, it can be quite dangerous for them.
Thank you so much for your valuable advice there, Jackie, and best of luck to you and your cat, Daniel, on that one. We've also got a question here from Tiffany, and I think this is quite an important question. It's about indoor cats, and the reason I'm saying that it's quite important is that we know that in Australia that around 30% of cats lead an indoor-only lifestyle. So Tiffany has asked, my cat is an indoor cat. I heard that they do not need vaccinations, etc. Is this true? So Kate, I might pass to you to answer this one all about preventative health in indoor cats.
Yeah, so there is still a couple of good reasons why it is worth vaccinating your cat despite them being indoors only. One being that they could escape at any time and you never know what sort of diseases your cat might be exposed to if they do manage to get out of that tiny crack in the doorway. Vaccines do also reduce shedding of things like cat flu if your cat is already a carrier, and it's also useful if you do need to put them into boarding for any sort of emergency reason and you don't have time to get them vaccinated and have that lead period of a couple of weeks to let the vaccines actually kick in and start working before you can put them into the kennels. It's not just the vaccine that's actually useful as well. The actual vet visit involved in that is really, really valuable, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons why we do recommend following up with this preventative care is getting that vet check done at the same time, at least yearly, so that we as vets can identify any sort of underlying conditions which might be going on there, and each vet will have that chat with you as to whether it is worth getting your cat vaccinated and what the best move going forward will be for your pet specifically.
Some brilliant advice there, Kate. Thank you so much for that, and I hope all of our indoor cat owners at home have taken note of how the importance of that annual health check, and again, remembering that we've got some excellent travel tips to help to reduce stress getting your cat to the vet. So that concludes our Q&A segment, so thank you so much to Dr. Jackie and Dr. Kate for all of their valuable insights and expertise, and thank you very much to you, our audience, for tuning in today for our first Cat Chat. We hope that you have learned something new that both you and your cat can benefit from. If there was anything that you'd like to listen to again, this broadcast will be available on our Royal Canin Facebook page shortly after this event. Make sure you share the video with your friends and remember to enter the Facebook competition for a chance to win a year of Royal Canin food for your cat. Just remember the code word that popped up on the screen throughout the event today and complete the competition entry form that you'll find in the Facebook post. Finally, I'd like to say a very big thank you to our expert panellists, Dr. Jackie and Dr. Kate, for joining us today and sharing all of their cat wisdom. It's been truly wonderful to have you both here with us. So to Jackie, thank you so much, and to Kate here in the studio with me. And until next time, bye everybody.